uh, our first meeting for the semester. So this is your typical office hours for you guys, regardless of what class you belong to. So we have 2 office hours, which is Tuesday and Thursday, and I'll show you where you can get that information. Um, I have also sent out an announcement. That was a welcome announcement that went out via email. If you have it set up to receive email from Canvas, then you have received that. If not, it would have been in your announcement section for the Canvas. I'm hoping, considering this would be the third semester, we're doing this online. Most of you guys have some experience with taking an online class. However, if this is still new to you, then we can have a chat afterward if you have very particular questions about the class. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna choose one of the classes because it doesn't matter, honestly, for the first week, which class I choose. You will have the same information. It's literally copied across all my classes. So it doesn't matter if I'm talking about 250 or 155 or 251, you will all have the same information. In terms of your lab activities, your exam setup, your lab exam setup, everything is the same across the board for all classes. It's just basically the content that's going to be covered will be different, or the dates of your exam will be different. But everything else literally will be identical. So that makes the job a little bit easier for me to go through the logistics. That being said, if you guys do have any questions, I have my chat box open. So if you do have questions, please just type it in the chat box. And I'll do my best to answer it as we go through the logistics of the class. So I'm gonna just open up the Bio 250 class for us because I have 2 of those sections, and I assume most of my students would be from that class. So typically when you guys come into the class or come into your view of your course, this is something very similar to you would see for any class you will be taking. You will have a welcome module that will have the same information, except the syllabus will be different. And then you will have 4 or 5 lecture units breakdown. So unit 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the end of this, you will have a specific unit for study guides. So the study guides basically correspond to the exams. And yes, depending on the class, some of them might be missing because I'm updating them. But for majority of those, they're already set for the rest of the semester. So the first thing I want to tell you guys is I literally killed myself right before the semester to make sure that your class is ready to go for the rest of the semester. So why is that important? As we go through this class, you notice that there is a lot of activities you guys need to do. So there is a Canvas post that you need to do weekly. And again, regardless of the class, that would be due on Saturday nights by 11:59 p.m. Almost on a weekly basis, you will have a lab activity that you need to complete. Like if you were in a class, those lab activities can be in a group, or it could be an individual lab activity, and you can find that information as well. Or you will have an exam, a lecture exam or a lab exam on top of everything else. Now, that being said, what I've done is if people feel that they need to move forward, and let's say you know that next week you have something coming up and you won't be able to complete the Canvas post on the given day, you can go ahead and read through the material and complete your Canvas post for any of the given weeks for the rest of the semester, which means you really don't have any limitation in terms of turning in the assignments as far as it's before the due date. So please do keep that in mind moving forward into the semester, because I think a lot of the confusion I had from my students last semester was that they would say, oh, I don't have access to this, not noticing that the assignment is open from the beginning of the semester until the due date. So I think it may help some people that might be short on time. You know, you have job, family responsibility, kids. I understand all of that. So if you do want to move forward with your content, you have that freedom to do so. The next thing I want to show you is some of the basically ways to navigate the Canvas page. So I'm going to start with the welcome module. Depending on which class you are, you might only see your welcome module available to you and you don't see these, you don't have access to them because you need to complete the welcome module first. That's the reason that you may not have access to the other courses. But I just want to walk you guys through it. So again, welcome to Bio. In this case, it says Bio 250. So it gives you a little bit of information about what class you're taking basically, and a couple of YouTube videos that I have made that will help you guys basically, again, navigate the course and learn a little bit more about me. So if some of you might have had me as an instructor before, but if you're new and you want to learn a little bit more about me, then you're welcome to review the welcome page. And I do suggest for you guys to take a minute and just go through it. It's not that long, so and it gives you some good information. The next thing we have, and again, notice that there's a next button right on the corner. You can just click on that. This is a 12-minute video. When I was a student and I was taking training on how to teach online, this is one of the videos that was recommended to me. And I found it helpful as a both instructor and as a student. So it's a relatively short video that's going to help you basically learn what you need to do to succeed in an online class, and what should be the expectation of teaching an online class or taking an online class. Sorry, I'm gonna move this one this way. My screen is a little bit. Okay. The next thing that I have, which is one of my favorite things about this class, is how to use Canvas. So there is some nice information here, which is very similar to what I'm covering for you right now. It slightly might be different because of the changes that Canvas has made, but overall, the information should be very similar to what I'm providing for you here. And then the last document in your class should be your syllabus. So, oh, did I just switch the thing? Oh, I just noticed your syllabus is for Bio 155. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. That's for summer 2022. See, that's why I checked this. I don't know how it went here. So okay, I don't know what happened here, but where you would be, there would be your syllabus here, and the syllabus will have all of your information for the basically what is the expectation for the class, what is your student learning outcomes, what content are we covering, how many exams you have, etc. And I will update this to make sure that this corresponds to your actual class. I really don't know how this ended up here. This doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, is there any questions or concerns so far? You may even unmute yourself and just ask the question if there is anything.
I have a question. I tried going into the next section after watching the first video, and I wasn't able to.
You have to click on all the documents. So you have to complete all 4 documents in that list. Okay. You have to click and open every single document. So the setup is that if you are one of those students that are limited to welcome module right now, you need to go literally click on every document, take a look at them, not just the video. So even opening your syllabus would be a requirement for that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Any other question, guys, you might have? And again, I will fix this and make sure that this is corresponding to your course. I am lost for word what has happened here. So, okay, so I'm gonna go back to our actual course, which is the one that I wanna look at. And right here, what you see is there's 2 basically menu bars on the left corner of your screen. So again, I'm just gonna walk you through it. If it sounds really familiar and you already know what this is, then great. If not, that's a really good opportunity for you. And if you are receiving an ad code, because that's what a question in the chat box, if you have received an ad code and you're here and you weren't able to add the class, as I responded to, I think almost all of you, I guess I missed one, it's because the class officially starts today, which means you should be able to use the ad code today. So that should be available. Yesterday was a holiday, so they didn't consider it as the first day of class. So. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you have basically your account. You can put a picture of yourself, but adjusting it and adding some bio information about it. The dashboard is basically a way for you to see all the classes that you are taking online. So in this case, these are the 4 classes that I'm teaching. Yours would be the classes that you are basically taking. Another way to find the courses that you have is by literally clicking on the courses and selecting the corresponding course. Now, the one that I really like, the feature that many of my students miss, is the calendar option. So I have put all of the activities, exam, assessments, your Canvas post, everything is available by due dates on Canvas. So if you take a look at it, see I have 4 classes and all of you guys have your office hours listed here. You also have your Canvas post. Again, all 4 classes have Canvas posts on Saturdays, and it keeps repeating throughout the month. So if you really want to know what is due when, what is the ultimate due date for each assignment, this is the best place to go. Your calendar option will have everything set for you, including your exams, your lab activity submission, etc. Okay, so here is your friend. This is your friend. Don't ignore it. Please do not email me and saying when is my assignments due, because I literally just tell you to go and look at your calendar, because that's the easiest way to do it. You will have your inbox, which is basically your email. I see that I have 4 emails here. Please do not use this feature. I don't check the Canvas inbox, and I don't get notification that you have emailed me. I used it last semester, and this was my slowest way of communication with the students. The best way for you to communicate with me is via email that I have provided in your syllabus and in your announcement section, which I'll show you in just a minute. I will tell you this, my response time for your emails is between 24 to 48 hours. So if you email me right now, don't expect a response within a 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Please, please do not send me another email within an hour telling me, oh, I haven't heard from you. This is not a face-to-face class, guys. I don't sit in front of my computer checking my emails, everything every day. And well, I do check it, try to check it every day. But there are days that I miss because, I have also responsibilities at home. So please do give me 48 hours. If you don't hear back from me within 48 hours, please email me back again. And then please do note that starting Friday night, typically around 8-9 p.m. until Monday morning, I do not answer emails. So if you do have assignment that needs to be completed, please make sure you do those or ask questions prior to those weekends, so I can be helpful to you. I usually check before I kind of log off for the weekend. I do check out my emails until Friday night, and then everything else goes till Monday morning. So again, please don't expect any response back from me within weekends or holidays, because I am trying to change separate my personal life from my work, because otherwise I won't be able to do it. So I won't survive, actually. You really don't need to use any of these features like History, Commons, Studios if you have them. I don't know if you do see them, but it is not something that you do use. I can try to give you another ad code, but at the moment I'm just gonna skip that, and we'll come back to that at the
okay, thank you.
After I'm done with the whole class. All right. So the second menu that you guys have, which is really important for your classes, and again, it might be different view for you guys, depending on what class you're taking or what features of the Canvas I'm using for your class. This is what your student view would look like. So up to this point, I was looking at your instructor view, and this is your student view. So right here, you have your announcement. Announcement is going to be the most important in terms of keeping you updated for the class or any changes that you may have. So if you go and click on the announcement, and if you haven't seen that, please take a minute and go and look at it. You have the first office hours review for the course logistics. So I'm assuming if you are here, you have seen that. And the other one is information that will help you succeed for the course. And this is the one that I really want you guys to take a look at. It goes over when your class starts, when it ends. It tells you information about your textbook for the course, which, as I mentioned, it is an open educational resources, which means you really don't need to purchase any textbook for any of my classes. That includes 155, 250, and 251. So, and I'll show you as you guys walk through each of the sections, what that actually look like when you want to look at a specific part of the textbook. Logging in through your Canvas is always, you have to go through your main page, which is the valleycollege.edu. And then I have some information about like some of the common questions I get from my students. If there is something wrong with your logging for both Canvas and WebAdvisor, what would you call? Here's a number. You can always come back to this if you lost it or later in the semester you have an issue. When is the office hours? Regardless, again, what class you belong to, you will have office hours Tuesday from 7 to 8, and then Thursday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. So I try to set up office hours that work for people who work in the morning and people who work at night, and also work with my schedule. What if I can make it during office hours? This is the one that I hear a lot from my students at the end of the semester. Say, well, you know, your office hours was inconvenient to me. I was working this and that, and I couldn't get to you, and I couldn't ask my questions, etc. So notice it says you may email me and set up a Zoom meeting that is personal and it's only you and me. That may take maybe a few days for me to set up, to find the time to match both my schedule and your schedule. But you have the opportunity to also meet with me with appointments using a Zoom meeting. So please don't put or don't lose your, don't lose your hope that you can come to the office hours so you can ask me questions. So you're only limited to the email. You also still have the option of doing a face-to-face with me and making sure that you guys have the answers you need for your exams and assessments. Where can I find information regarding office hours? I showed you this already. So when you go to your calendar option again, your office hours are listed, and when you click on that, it will give you the link for the Zoom. And I believe I set it up that the Zoom link for Tuesdays and Thursday office hours, there's one for Tuesday and one for Thursday for the rest of the semester. So that makes the job a little bit easier. What do I need to do so much work for the class? Which is a really common questions I get from my students. Because please do remember that if we were in class, we would have spent about 3 hours lecturing and 3 hours doing lab work. This is just the work that you would have been doing in class. It doesn't include your study time, studying for your exam, doing lab work or activities at home, homework, etc. So for us as an instructor, we have requirements that we need to complete for the accreditation company to agree that we are doing what we needed to do as it would do in a face-to-face class. That being said, you will have typically, and again, this goes up and down depending on how I have broken down the content for you. You usually have about an hour and a half of recording of your lectures that would basically review your content for your lecture portion. And then you will usually have a lab that needs to be completed. And that lab usually takes about two hours, 2 to 2.5 hours if you're doing either individually or as a group activity. So that's what you would do basically in terms of listening to the lectures and doing your lab and doing your Canvas post. These are the typical activity you would have done if you were in a face-to-face class. So your study time does not include those hours, guys. So you need to be studying, and I really want to make sure this is clear because this is the main reason for student failing. They assume just because they listen to the PowerPoints and they did their lab, they're good to go and they can do really well in the exam. And I'm telling you right now, guys, in addition to the time you're spending, and this is across the board for all classes, in addition to the time you're spending doing your Canvas points, looking at the PowerPoint, looking at the presentation, or doing your group lab activity, you need at least about 10 to 12 hours of a study per week to keep up with the content. That is on top of your regular activities you do for the class. And trust me, the chance of you succeeding if you don't follow that is pretty low. And I know it sounds harsh. I know a lot of people believe, well, this is an online class. I can look at my notes, it's an open note exam. That is all true. And I'm not gonna stop you, and I can't stop you from using your notes. But trust me, the time that is given for your exam and the time you have to look for the answers to the questions do not match with each other. So it's very important for you guys to keep in mind that when you are going to go take an exam, please, please do not rely on, oh, I will be fine because I have access to my notes. It's not gonna work. You will fail. I will receive email. I promise you I will receive emails telling me, oh, I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough time. But I'm letting you know right now, in average, I have given all of the exams an extra 10 minutes for possible technical challenges that you may have while you are taking your exam. That 10 minutes is allocated to your slow internet, page wasn't loading, image wasn't loading, I have to do it 20 times, etc., etc. That 10 minutes allocated is not for you to go and look for the answers in your notes or in your textbook or on Google. That is not the purpose for it. So please do keep in mind, be prepared when you're starting to take your exam, and that is my hope that you will do well if you follow that 10 to 12 hours a week study time for each of the classes that I mentioned. Any question, guys? Have I scared you? You're all silenced. I like that.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you answered already, but what is your typical time length for the exams?
It depends, because depending on the class and depending on the content that's being covered, the length of the exam is different.
Okay.
But it's not for the lecture exam. I'm talking about lecture exam. It typically at least is an hour, 15 minutes, but it can extend all the way to an hour 30 up to an hour 40 for my 251 class. So I don't know which class you belong to, but 251, there's a lot of critical thinking typing questions. So I have given you guys more time.
Okay, thank you.
No, there cannot be no time limit for exams. There is going to be, again, this is a requirement that I need to follow. And if there is no time limit, basically, it makes it open for students to cheat. And I don't want that. You're still required to know the content. And the way that I ensure that you do need to know the content is by putting a time limit on you. Okay. That was a question in the chat box, by the way. If you guys are not looking at that. So yes, no, unless, and before I forget, unless you guys are a DSPS students with the proper paperwork, which I have at the bottom of the email, please, please guys, make sure that you have completed all of your paperwork and you have submitted it to me before the first exam that is scheduled for you. That way I make sure that you have the requirement for the DSPS. Please, please do not just send me an email and tell me you are a DSPS student and require double the time. I cannot accommodate you until I have the proper paperwork. So do keep that in mind as well. Okay. Anything else? Any other question, guys? Good. Okay. And I already answered the question about where can I find the due dates for each assignment. So one place that I have mentioned is your calendar option, which was right here on the left-hand side. The other option that I'm going to show you is when you go under the syllabus option. So if I click on the syllabus right here, you can actually see a copy of the syllabus. This is the right syllabus, so yay. So it has all of the content for this, the syllabus just literally printed here. And then if you go down all the way, it has the due dates for your Canvas post, which is always, again, Saturday for that week. And then at the bottom, it has the exam schedule for both lecture and labs. I also want to note while I'm here for you guys, one more point. Notice again, this is across the board for all my classes. Your lecture and lab exams cover lecture exams, sorry. Lecture exams are covered by unit. So you have 4 units in this case, unit 4, 3, 2, and 1. It does not include the content for the lab. So if you are doing lab concurrently for each week, those content will not be covered. And then all of your exams, regardless if you're doing a lecture exam or a lab exam, they're always going to be on the week of the exam. They are going to be available from Friday, 5 p.m. until Sunday, 11:59 p.m. So you basically have 48, I guess what was it, 52 hours to complete the exam. So you can choose any of the time between Friday 5 p.m. till Sunday 11:59 p.m. to complete your exam. That is your choice, what works with your schedule, when your kids are sleeping, when you're not working, when you're ready to take the exam. However, if you fail to complete the exam, or let's say you open an exam that is an hour and a half and you open it at 11:30 to take it, then you will only have 30 minutes to complete the exam. So don't wait until the last minute to complete the exam, because the exams will be closing at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. So if you only have half an hour until that deadline, you're only gonna get that half an hour, not the actual 1.5 hour allocated for the exam time. So please do keep that in mind as well. And again, lab exams are the same. So it tells you which labs are covered. And then the deadline is again, always Friday, 5 p.m. until Sunday, 11:59 p.m. And you can see exactly the labs are numbered here. And then the units, basically, if you have lecture exam 1, anything above the lecture 1 would be covered in exam 1. Anything between lecture exam 1 and lecture exam 2 will be covered in exam 2, and etc. So it's really easy to figure out what content is covered for each exam. However, if you still have questions about this, you could as easily go to your module and notice it says lecture unit 1. That is the content that will be covered for your exam 1. So that kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at, hopefully. Any question, guys? Is there anything that wasn't clear so far that I've mentioned? Again, you can just ask me the question. You don't have to type it in the chat box if you do have one. Okay. Moving on. If you have any questions for the Canvas post, I'm telling you guys the best way for you guys to get those questions answered in a face-to-face setup, like what we're doing right now, either Tuesday or Thursdays, or setting up an appointment time to go over that information. If that doesn't work for you and you really don't want to do the face-to-face, you're welcome to send me an email. But again, do keep in mind that my response time is between 24 to 48 hours and no response over the weekend. I already talked about the time you can take your lecture exams, and in terms of extra credit, which I think is one of the bigger questions for everybody. There are extra credit questions built into all of your exams. So last semester when I was doing it, I would just put a 0 for the points, and then I would go back and grade the exams and give you the, or allocate the points for that extra credit. This time what I've done is I actually given you guys as you go through your questions, on the top, it says extra credit and how many points are associated with that extra credit question. So that way you guys are more comfortable identifying your extra credit questions. The other, I'm gonna put that in quote unquote, complaint I had from my students is that the extra credit questions were usually built at the end of the exam, which is the typical thing you would see in a face-to-face class. But a lot of my students were upset because they would say, oh, I didn't see it's extra credit, I just ignored the question, or I didn't get to it. So what I've done now is the extra credit questions are spread throughout the exam. So even if you don't finish the exam for whatever reason, you at least had some opportunity to answer and get some extra credit points. But again, those questions are marked and are easy to spot as far as how many points you can get. In terms of reviewing your exam, guys, this is also very important. Your exams are available for review only during office hours. I don't release the exam to students to review on their own because of the issues I had the previous semesters, and I had to redo all of my exams because of that. So if you do really want to know what you missed or why you received the grade that you received, you're welcome to come during office hours or set up an appointment time with me to go over the exam. I usually tell you guys, if I want to do it, I want to make sure this is a one-to-one. So if there is somebody going over their exam during office hours, you will remain on a wait list of the office hours until I have the opportunity to finish the exam with the students. And FYI, I don't spend too much time on each exam. I usually give each students about 10 to 15 minutes max to go over their exam. So I usually just cover the points that was lost with the student, not the one that they got correct. And then lastly, again, here's my email. Please, please, for those who join me, do not use the Canvas option for sending an email to me. I do not check that frequently for you guys to get a response. So if you are interested in communicating with me, please use the Valley College email address to contact me. Questions? Anything?
I had a question.
Yeah.
For the extra credit on the exams, if
Mhm.
we get the extra credit questions wrong, are the
No.
points taken away?
You just remain at 0. Because when you take the exam, if you look at it, as the exam pops out, it tells you how many points each question is on the corner box on the right-hand side. Okay, I think right top corner for you guys as well. So on extra credit question just has a 0. So if you do actually receive those points, it just says you receive 1.5 points, for instance, out of 0. And if you don't answer it correctly or you left it blank, it would just say 0 out of 0. So you will not miss any point, basically.
Okay.
I can clarify the group labs in just a minute because that's the next thing I want to talk to you guys about. So I'm just going to switch to another course because it's a little bit easier for me to show you some of the content. By the way, I do have a 2-year-old at home, and a lot of time you might actually hear her knocking on the door. So that's her trying to get into the room right now. No, Mama, sorry. Sorry, guys. So if you have toddlers on home, I completely understand. Okay, so assignments for your course is another one that you can see. Yeah, say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Okay, sorry guys, I'll be right back. Okay, go to daddy, Mama. Mama, yeah, I'll call you, Mama. Mama, I'll call you. Okay, so if you guys go to your class, and you might not see this view, but again, the idea is you will have, let me see what you guys see actually, because that makes it a little bit easier. So under your assignment, you will not see anything. So I'm gonna go to the modules, which is the one that you guys would really be your focus for the class. So if you go here for week 1, for instance, I'm just gonna show you this. So let's say this is week 1 for Bio 155, and again, you will have a similar thing set up for you regardless of the class that you have. So it will tell you what content we're covering, what are the focal points for the class is for that week. It tells you what you need to complete. So if you notice, everything that basically has a hyperlink, it takes you directly to the assignments. So you really don't need to go and figure out what you need to do for each week. Everything is basically bundled up for you under your module per week. So right now, for instance, for this class, you need to complete Canvas Post 1, which some of you guys have already done. And that's basically introducing yourself to me and to your classmates. So I'm just gonna click to show you what it looks like. So if I click on that, again, it directly takes you to your Canvas post. It tells you basically what you need to do. Here's the thing. And then it also tells you the initial reply that you need to do to this post is by Thursday, 1/21 by 11:59. And then when you're done that, you have until Saturday midnight to basically respond to 2 of your classmates. So what you need to do, basically, read the direction, you introduce yourself and you want to type something. So I've done this already for myself and I posted it for you guys. So you click on the button right here, it says reply, and then you just type your information, right? And then when you're done with this, if there are other posts that you can already reply to, I go, let's say I want to reply to Jordan. Sorry, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I want to say I want to respond to Jordan. So Jordan, I'm going to just click on reply and then type my reply in there. So basically, oh, nice to meet you. I have this with you in common, etc., etc. Something that basically helps you make that connection with your classmates, since we don't do a face-to-face where you get the chance to do that. Is this make sense so far, guys? Any questions, concerns about this? Okay. So following in this is really important. This is something that a lot of my students missed last semester, so I want to spend a couple of minutes on this. When you go into a face-to-face class, for my class at least, you would have had access to a PowerPoint that you could have printed or have it on your computer saved. And then you come to the class and I would have the PowerPoint on a screen for you guys in the class. And then as I would lecture through it, I would write things on a board, which would be your notes. That would have been a typical setup for your face-to-face class. Now, we don't get the chance to do this here since this is an asynchronous class, and therefore I don't actually lecture you guys. So what you need to do, for regardless of the class, when you get to this, you need to first download the PowerPoint. So it says download and review the PowerPoint. Download the PowerPoint, and then you guys are gonna come and watch the videos. So if you have the PowerPoint downloaded, you can have it as half of your screen, or you can print it based on your choice. And then I will literally do the same thing I would have done in a class. I would go slide by slide, give you information, add information to it, which would be basically your notes. And then those are the information you want to review. Many of my students failed to watch these YouTube videos. And these are my videos, guys. These are not, I pulled random videos from all over the place and they say, watch this, watch this, watch this. This is your lecture videos that I literally re-recorded for your classes. So what is the point? If you fail to watch the presentations, which are the YouTube videos, first of all, I know how many people have done it. If you ever have a YouTube channel or have worked with a YouTube channel, you can basically get a statistic. So if the video that I have for a class of 28 only viewed 10 times, that means not all of my students have viewed it. Well, that basically means because you guys can't see each other. This will affect you significantly when it comes to the exam time, because a lot of the content that are presented in the YouTube videos are not in the PowerPoint. Like when we were doing a face-to-face, the PowerPoints are a guideline for me to follow my lecture, but it does not include all of the information. So even if you have, let's say, I said you need to know about, for instance, homeostasis, okay? That may have some information, but it's not the whole picture. So if you fail to watch the YouTube videos because they are long, you will not do so well in the class. And again, this is across the board for the class. Now, when you guys are done with watching your video and checking out the presentation and making sure everything's clear, you guys can complete the next assignment, which is the corresponding Canvas post for these lectures. So again, I'm just going to show you this. So this is a Canvas post. In this case, for the first week, you have 2 Canvas posts. For every other week, you only have 1, which is basically on the content that's being presented. Again, the due date is always on Saturdays at midnight, or a minute to midnight. So I'm going to just click on that. So again, what it would give you is between 1 to 3 questions that you need to complete. So it says, before completing the assignment, basically make sure that you guys are not plagiarizing, you're not copying it directly from my PowerPoint, from a textbook, from a Google search, etc. Make sure you don't plagiarize, make sure you guys following the academic integrity. Read the question. This question, again, corresponds to the PowerPoint. And when you guys are done with that, you can actually submit the assignment. So it's a submission type, guys. So again, you don't always have this option, but for all of the Canvas posts, you do have it. So let's say you can do text entry or you can do file. Text entry basically means you can directly type into the assignments, okay? Let's say I choose this one. It says choose one submission. All I'm gonna do right now is a start entry, right? And I'm gonna just start typing. That's it. You type directly into it and it comes to me when you submit the assignments. So at the end, see how it says save. When you save it, you're done, you're ready to go. You don't need to do anything after that. If you choose to do the other option, which is a file entry, please, 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 I don't know how many times I have to do it. Do not give me a pages document. So if you're using an iMac or a MacBook or a iMac, I guess, or MacBook Air or whatever you're using, please, please do not use the pages because I cannot open those documents. So it has to be a PDF or a doc document. Type it in your own document, save it on your computer, and then upload it as an attachment here. And again, when you're done, all you do is click submit or save, and then you're good to go. Does this make sense to everybody? Because that's something that some of my students might challenge at the beginning of the semester last time. You guys good? No questions? Okay. And it actually tells you if you have how far you are. So I'm uploading, submitted, and graded. So going back, I'm gonna leave this. So if your document is not saved, basically tells you to save it. Yes.
Sorry, I was just questioning. So as far as the post goes, students who are barely adding the course, is it late? Because I saw the date for January 23rd. Are we late for the
January 23rd is on Saturday night. So that's plenty of time for you to do the work, because anybody who's trying to add should be able to add by the end of today.
Oh, because it just shows second post. That's why I was saying. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So basically what I've done to make the process easier, everybody has access to the course starting today, and everybody has a deadline for Saturday. Now that being said, for those who are trying to add, if there is complication because they weren't able to add, or whatever the reason is, I'm a little bit more flexible only for the first week, if there is a legitimate reason why they couldn't complete the assignment by the due date. However, that does not extend to the rest of the semester. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but the first week, I'm usually, again, like anything in a classroom face-to-face, we are more flexible because people are still trying to figure out things. But if you are registered for the class and you have access to the course, you should be able to complete the deadlines. Okay?
I had a question.
Sure.
I came a little bit late, so I don't know if you already covered this, but is this class mainly online, or will we have Zoom meetings?
Everything is online.
Oh, okay.
Every class that I teach is fully asynchronous, which means we don't have a specific meet time that all students need to participate. So you do have office hours, but those are optional. Although I strongly encourage and recommend for students to participate, it is not a requirement. So basically, I had a student that I've never seen, and they failed the class. Honestly, I'm telling you this. I had a student that never participated, didn't complete their Canvas post. I could see their activity level at Canvas, and this is something I do to make sure that students do what they need to do. I have communicated with them multiple times and they just didn't respond well. And trust me, guys, you will not do well in the class. And I apologize. I'm not trying to be rude or mean to anybody or offend anybody, but you really need to stay in contact with me. If you have questions, please stop being shy and say, oh, I don't want to ask her this. I might sound stupid, this and that. I really don't care, guys, if you ask me the same question 20 times. As far as by the 21st time, you learn the content and you can do well in your exam and pass this course. So I don't have to see you again in my classes. I want my students to move on and move forward. But if you guys don't use the resources that you have, which also includes tutoring available to you guys, then I really can't do anything for you guys. You really need to take those steps and make sure you guys follow that. But yes, you don't really need to see me at all for the rest of the semester. Okay, so for the first—
Sorry, Professor.
Yes.
Sorry, good morning. So my question is, I have you as a professor for both Bio 250 and 251, and you said that the material is pretty much the same throughout the semester. I wanted to ask you, for the first post Canvas, the introduction
you only to post it once. That's fine. Just copy and paste it for both class.
Okay, yeah, that's all I was gonna ask. Yeah, thank you for answering that.
Yeah. Now I don't want you to create the whole new history for the second class.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Hi, I have a question.
Sure.
I didn't hear you state this, but as far as I know that you already have the assignments pretty much mapped out in the calendar and under our courses or whatnot. But say we get into that point where we're falling a little bit behind. What is your makeup work options, or do you not give makeup work, or do we have to communicate with you and be one-on-one and we can discuss that, or is makeup work not an option?
Okay, so I don't know if you heard when I started the semester. So as I said, everything's mapped out. So if you believe that there's something that's coming up that's going to prevent you from doing your work, I do recommend, especially when it comes to your Canvas posts or your quizzes, to do them ahead of time to make sure that that is the case. In terms of making up the work, so if you go to your syllabus, and that's why you really need to go and read your syllabus, but this is something I want to share with everybody still, because it is a question that comes up. So let's say your assignment is due on Saturday by midnight, right? And you didn't complete it and you submitted it the next day. So there's a late policy for assignment submission. That doesn't include quizzes and exams, guys. So assignments include lab assignments and the Canvas posts. For those, you have every day that you're late, you lose 20% of your grade for that assignment, but you have maximum of 5 days to submit that late, okay? Now, that being said, if there are situations, because I had a student, for instance, that had COVID and they just basically were hospitalized and they couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I'm COVID right now.
Yeah, so if there are extenuating circumstances that prevents you from completing that, I do need to see documentation for that, for my sake, and then for the future if it was something that I was audited. But if you can present information that prevents you from completing the assignment, then I can extend it without you losing any points. But simply because you missed the deadline and you forgot about assignment and you didn't complete it, that is not a justification. But knowing what's happening in our world right now, especially if you live near LA or San Bernardino is doing actually good, then in that case, then fine, I'll try to work with you. And that's why you wanna stay in contact with me. And I'm gonna tell you guys this before we move on, and I'll show you something else about your group presentation, which is something that people were asking earlier. If I see students communicating with me during the semester and telling me what's going on, the difficulties they may have, and I don't want personal history, guys. I'm talking about information that's going to help me make decisions about how to handle your situation individually. I don't put everybody on a blanket. Oh, you're late for assignment, you're going to get a 0. Or you missed this exam, I'm going to give you a 0. It's a case-to-case basis. But if at the end of the semester, and this is what my students do, and I'm gonna, sorry, there's a lot of back. If you are not on mute, can you please mute yourself? Because
okay, sorry.
There's a lot of background sound coming up. If, I forgot my train of thought. If you email me, if you haven't communicated with me during the whole semester, and I have sent you emails, I have told you guys need to come to office hours, I send announcement out, etc., etc. And I can see that the participation in Canvas is pretty low. And then at the end of the semester, I hear from the students that has failed the class or didn't do really well, giving me this really, backstory about their life and how difficult their life is and how they had kids and this and this and this and all of these issues. And that's the reason they couldn't complete. And if I can be flexible with their grades. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to refer you guys back to this, this recording, that I cannot be flexible at that point. If you haven't had any communication with me this 17 weeks, 18 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're asking me for flexibility, I won't not be able to provide it. So if you do have issues, if you do have concern about the class, if the content is not presented the way that helps you understand, if you have issues like COVID, family things that prevents you from doing your job or doing your work completely, I can be a little bit flexible throughout the semester. So like once or twice you're late in assignment, then I can help you. If it happens throughout the whole 18 weeks, I can't do anything for you because you still need to complete the requirement. There is flexibility. My point here is there is flexibility as far as you communicate with me, but don't wait until the last week to ask for those flexibilities. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody and answer some of the questions. Okay. So before I
I had a quick related question, sort of. If we say we have, because my birthday's coming up, I do have like a camping trip.
Mhm.
I saw that your exams are only available from like, was it Friday until Sunday? Is there any way that we could, that I would be able to like take it early or, because,
So yes and no. So I can be flexible with the students once during the semester for the exam, but that's basically it. So again, every week you come into me and tell me a reason, then that won't work. But send me an individual email and then we'll work it out. Then I can make it available for a specific hours. I will not be giving you 3 extra days. It would basically be available for 2.5 hours. During that 2.5 hours, you will take the exam and that's it. But yes, I am a little bit more flexible on that. That's fine.
thank you.
So before I forget, so the last thing I want to kind of spend a little bit time on is the group activities. So notice how every time you have a lab, which is typically one of the last points that I have for the activities of that day, it says complete either a word group or individual activity. If it says group activity, it means you already been assigned to work with other people. And as a whole group, you will be turning one document to me, okay? If it is an individual assignment, so let's say this week is group, next week is individual, you cannot expect your group members to do the work for you and submit it for you. For some reason, people think individual means group. So if it's a lab that it says individual, every single person in the class needs to submit an assignment. If it says group, the whole group will complete one single assignment, one single document, and then that document will be submitted, and then everybody will receive, basically, when you do that, everybody in that group will be having a submission for the assignment, and everybody will receive the same grade at the end. So I will not be assigning individual grade just because you did this part and you did it right. You need to check each other's work. You need to make sure that the document as a whole has the correct answers. And if it doesn't, everybody in that group loses points. So do keep that in mind. So in this case, for instance, let me just show you one lab so you guys can see what it looks like. Again, on the top, most of the time, I think I missed some of them. Please make sure you don't copy and paste. Do not use documents that have been submitted previously. This has to be a brand new work that's submitted as a group. Here's the information you guys will basically be using to complete the lab assignments. Because again, I'm not in person there telling you guys what you need to do, I have posted videos for you of how to get the information. And then you get to the bottom portion of this, which is basically your data and the assignment that you will be submitting to me. So what you need to do is, as a group, decide whoever is gonna make the original document. And all you need to do is literally copy this portion of the assignment, copy it and paste it into a Word document. And then you guys can decide to share it in a Word document. If you guys want to FaceTime with each other and figure out what the answers are, and one person can type that answer, you can text each other, and again, one person can submit the final assignment. You can each do your own part and pass forward the document to the next person to complete, but it has to be a group effort, okay? You cannot have just one person do all the work and then everybody else basically gets the credit. And I honestly won't know. But here's the thing, when it comes to your exam, you will not know that information because you have never worked through the lab. So don't assume that because you have turned in a lab and you get full credit for it, you will be able to answer those questions in the exam. So you need to work through this. Now, what method of communication you guys use as a students among each other within your group is your choice. You can choose whatever that works for you. And as you go through this, you become a little more comfortable. But I do strongly suggest for you guys to start figuring out who your groups are and then go from there and start communicating sooner than later. Every lab that you guys have, if it's a group lab, will be due on Sunday by midnight. Again, you can submit the assignments late, but every day that is late, it would be a 20% deduction for the whole group. So when you guys do the assignment, the best way I've seen my students do is a Google Doc when they share it and everybody basically complete their part and you have one final document at the end. That is my best suggestion for students. However, if it doesn't work for you, guys are uncomfortable with it, you don't know how to use it, that's also fine. You can find a method that works for you. As far as how to figure out who is in your group, I'm gonna scroll up. Do you see this option says people? If you click on that, and again, I won't see anything because basically I'm not a class. There is no a specific person right here because I wasn't assigned to a group, but you can go to groups and see how it says group 1 through 5, and then it says 5 students. If you click on it, it has the name of the people that basically will be in your group. So for instance, group 1 will have these people. You can either email them through Canvas or I think that's emailing is the only option you have for your initial communication. And then you guys can exchange phone numbers, whatever you need to do to stay in contact with each other. Does this make sense so far, guys?
I have a question.
Yes.
If we're adding the class today, this morning, will we be added to a group later or?
So what I do is I check Canvas twice every day, morning and night. So if there are people that have been added, you will be pushed into a group. So as soon as you have access to the Canvas, less than, I would say 12 hours, you will also have access to the corresponding group as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome. And in terms of textbook, again, as I mentioned, all of your textbooks are OER. There's a question about that. So you don't really need to purchase anything. You just click on the corresponding link that is in your syllabus. I just want to take a couple of minutes. I know we're kind of running out of time unless you guys have any specific question, but I just want to go over one quick things with you because that's also very important for you guys to know. Let's go to week 1. All right, so right here, in terms of additional resources that are available. So usually what I've done for you guys, the textbook is identified as additional resources for me as the way I handle my class. So is it required for you to read your textbook information online? The answer is no. However, if there are content presented to you that you weren't very comfortable and you didn't get the answer or understanding that you want, then you can always go back to the textbook. So let me just show you. So it says review chapter sections, this and this on your online textbook. No textbook needed. All you need to do is what? Click on your link and it literally opens it into your OER textbook with the corresponding chapter you need to study. So you don't need to go search the textbook and figure out which part of the textbook is corresponding to this. I have made it as easy as possible, guys. You need to know more? Literally click on the link. That's it. And that's why it takes so long to set up. And then I also find some cool videos of these are, the information is accurate, but another way of presenting the same information to you guys in a smaller chunks. So there are some nice information here. If you needed to know more or you wanted another way of getting the information because the way I was presenting it wasn't something that was clicking for you. But if you are limited in terms of time and you really want to focus on what you need to know for the class, this is what you need to do, guys. Follow the activities 1 through 6 in this case for your class to make sure that everything that you've done making you ready for your exams and your assessment later on. I believe that is it, unless you guys have any particular question for me.
Quick question. For the exams, do you make a study guide available or do we just more follow?
Yeah, so that's what I was telling you earlier. If you go to your modules, so see how it says lecture.
Oh, perfect.
So there is a specific module just for that.
Perfect, thank you.
For your 155, you have it all set up. 251 should be all set up too. 250 is missing a couple because I kind of shifted some of the information here and there, so it needs to be updated. Okay, so you don't need a group leader necessarily. last time I set up a group leader that one person could submit it, and that person was basically responsible, and there was a lot of pressure on those people. So you could basically, as you talk to each other, you can say, oh, you submitted this week, you submitted this week, you submitted that week. But do note also, that's a really good question that works out to something else. Your groups do change depending on your class, so do keep an eye on what groups you guys are going to be working on. But I think for at least the first unit, everybody is the same. And again, for some units, you just stay the same throughout the semester. For the other classes that I have had typically difficulties with the students, then the groups change throughout the semester.
When somebody else in our group submits the document, is everybody else in the group able to see that they submitted it?
Yes, and this is really important, guys. So if you have a member that is designated as your submission leader or whatever, do not submit assignment after that one, because every time you submit a new assignment, the newest one will be the one that I can see, not the old ones. So if you are sure that you're ready to submit that document, and don't submit anything after that. Okay. One last thing about the lab assignments and lab activities, guys, this is really important. If you have, and you will have members, it's very unfortunate, but you will have members that basically don't respond to their emails, don't respond to their texts, don't submit their work, etc., etc. What you need to do, and there's these guidelines is in your syllabus here, because there's a whole section on your lab activities as a group. You are responsible as a group for all of you guys to be included in that email, minus the person that's basically not participating. And as a group, you need to send me an email that is not an individual to individual. It's a group to an instructor, and telling me that this person did not complete the parts that they were supposed to, or they're not responding to their text, or they're basically just not doing what they're supposed to do. In such a case, then I'll remove that person from the group. I will send them an email and said, you basically receiving a 0 for the assignment. And until they communicated with me the reason why they didn't participate, then they will basically continue receiving 0s on their assignments. So it will not be part of a group. So don't assume, oh, be fine, I didn't do anything, but I'm gonna get the group work because my name is part of a group. You will be removed as soon as I know. However, I had students that tell me at the end of the semester, we had this member that never did anything, and we were like, just put his name on it. Don't put his name or her name on it if they haven't contributed, guys. If it is not their work, they don't deserve to receive the point. And it sounds really harsh, but that's the truth. If you do not do the work as a group member, then you should not be receiving those points. So if you do have a member, as a group, send me an email and said, all of our members agree that this person basically didn't do their work. What we need to do, you really don't need to do anything. I will just literally go and take that person's name out of your group, send them an email and say, you need to communicate with me. And that's it. All you need to do is take that initial step and sending an email to me as a group. Okay. And again, if you guys go back to your syllabus, and just want to kind of show you quickly, if you go back to your syllabus and scroll with my page, see how it says lab assignments? These are the guidelines basically you're following to complete those lab assignments. So take a minute and read through them to make sure that you guys are all familiar with those basically rules and laws for the class. Okay, that's my little hour, 10-minute spiel that I needed to go over. Is there any questions regarding anything that I've discussed with you? So
I have an unrelated question. Is whether you are going to or not teach Bio 51, which is the second part during summer?
Summer, no, I don't teach it over summer. I'm actually I have a due date at the time, so I will be teaching only 155 if I can do that. So,
okay.
I will be teaching 251. I usually just teach him over the regular semesters.
Do you know the time for the short, like the first part and the second part of the summer?
Say it one more time, sorry.
like the date for